and welcome to another Eagles film room here on Philly Sports Network. I wanted to start this one a little bit differently. Normally, they're all super smooth and there's a script I read out, but today's prospect, it deserved a bit of a more personal intro because the angle the film room took was different. In the fourth round of this year's NFL draft, the Eagles selected offensive lineman Jack Driscoll before accompanying him with his teammate with a later pick. And no, it's not the Jack Driscoll that was in King Kong, that's a different Jack Driscoll. But what intrigued me was it took literally less than 30 minutes of him being drafted for him to attend a press conference with the media where he already alluded to the fact he could well be moving to centre or at the very least guard this offseason. Now that may well be up in the air given the current state of affairs, but I wanted to understand what was it on tape the Eagles found that made him such a good fit at centre. As opposed to evaluating him as a tackle, were the Eagles evaluating him as a potential successor to Jason Kelce? So that's the hat I put on today, and I wanted to share those thoughts with you guys. Welcome to another episode of Eagles Film Room. Before we get started, as always, a massive thank you to everyone checking out this video. We really appreciate all the support, especially at a time like this. If you're new around the channel and you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure you've got notifications turned on so you never miss a beat. And if you're not already, do check out phillysportsnetwork.com for the latest from all of your favourite Philadelphia sports teams, covered by myself and all of our writers over at Philly Sports Network. We want to be your new home for Philadelphia sports coverage, and hopefully you give us that shot. So who is Jack Driscoll? Well, he's 6'5", 312 pounds, and spent the last bit of his career at Auburn after starting it at Ole Miss, garnering experience at both inside and outside positions. At the Combine, he ran a 5-second 40-yard dash, which is very impressive for a lineman, and testing very, very well in athleticism-based drills. The struggle, though, was with the more power-based ones. So on the bench, he only hit 23 reps at 225 pounds, and with 33-inch arms, it doesn't bode exactly beautifully for a right tackle. So a slide inside did make sense, but what I wanted to see was what sort of tackle were we getting on film? Were we getting someone that relied on those athletic traits, or that wanted to develop that power, that still showed the tenacity we want and overcome those weaknesses? It didn't take me long to find my answer. This was the first game I watched here against Florida in 2019, and Driscoll is matched up against Jeremiah Moon. He's 6'6", he's a very versatile linebacker that had 6.5 tackles for a loss in 2019, and what you'll notice is that he's almost built like a defensive back. He's very long. That's problematic for a tackle with short arms. What you'll often find are that those rangier edge rushers want to stab you in the chest as soon as they get a chance, putting a hand on the chest at a tackle, keeping them at leverage so they can rush around the outside like we see used against Driscoll here. Driscoll, used to this by now though, has a counter. He chops down that inside arm, forcing the tower to collapse, and of course Moon loses balance. The next steps are quite simple. He's got a very wide base, he's got power moving forward, and that outside arm, if you keep an eye on it, is going to uppercut, almost forklift into the chest of the rusher to keep him at bay. Driscoll's got a defense mechanism to overcome those shortcomings. And while you may not be able to chop down every single pass rusher you face like we see here against Bama, what you can do is move the same way, and Driscoll is constantly able to maintain a firm, a wide base and keep his shoulders over his knees. He doesn't flash his hands too early, his placement is often very concise. There isn't a tremendous amount of punch that it sort of gently glide onto the edge rusher, but it's that lower body strength. There's a lot of power, which is where the athleticism comes from. It's just not supported by the upper body strength. But what he replaces that with is really technical hand movement. Again, he may not have the power in the upper body, but watch the hand reset here. What you're going to see is him just remove that inside arm out of the way and replace it with his own into the chest of the edge rusher, then keep that wide base. Look how much wider his legs were there than the rusher he's trying to get to. It creates a brick wall effect. Instead of trying to combat those tenacious pass rushing moves, he just puts his hand on the chest underneath, widens his stance and says, no, you're not getting through. And he did this time and time again. It is a defense mechanism to overcome that weakness. Like, look at the inside hand here of the edge rusher. It's pointing to the ground. It is not in the chest. It is not gaining leverage on the lineman. That's exactly what you want from a right tackle that does have a shorter wingspan, to negate that with a technical prowess. And suddenly, you're starting to see why Jeff Stoutland likes the idea of this man plan as a project, because the other aspect, again, where we mentioned he's actually really strong, is in terms of being athletically gifted. He can glide with edge rushes, he can keep up and what I call running the ring, running the hoop, whatever you want to call it, around the outside. Look at this play right here. The kickback is automatically very good. Prince Tega on the other side a little bit slower. He's going to engage with the edge rusher here and then realize that he can't keep up, so just drives him. He just keeps those legs moving. He does not stop those feet moving. They're not clumsy, they're just very precise in the way that it's almost like he's on a treadmill and his upper body moves well. There's a unison between what we see up top and down below, and that can sometimes be lost when there is a discrepancy. Now, I love this play here because number 7 is going to flash this little stutter move to try and go across the body of Driscoll. What he wants to do is glide inside and almost create that double penetration into the B gap. This is what we mean by agility. Watch the lower body of Driscoll here and watch it closely. That left leg is already bent. It anticipates it and he's going to throw himself into the path like a little shimmy back into the path of the defender and stop it himself. Again, you don't see many linemen move that way. That quick burst, that quick ability to move and react. And there's another example here though, but it's partnered with a tenacious mindset. Like, this is a big boy he's going up against. And the other thing that stands out in his game is that Jack Driscoll sustains contact. He does not give up. He plays to the whistle. He will drive players into the ground, and that makes him very valuable, getting to the second level on pulls and pins and that kind of thing on screens, because he will find a blocker, lock in like a homing missile and just drive them into the dirt. He's got an ability, a knack to stay attached to his target, to not let go until the play ends, and that is really good. Ultimately, what you're getting in Driscoll is someone that does look really consistent. It was hard for me to find a flaw in his game other than that when he puts his hands onto a player, there isn't a punch. It's very rare you see the edge rusher get rocked or take a step back or lose momentum, but he absorbs really well and he compensates for those weaknesses. There isn't a tremendous punch power, but there's good placement, and there may not be a lot of upper body strength, but there's a lot of technical prowess, and the agility that's there more than compensates for those shorter arms, for those weaker tendencies that we'd see at the NFL level. So I really think that with the correct posture, where he keeps his shoulders over his knees, he keeps forward momentum, he places his hands well, he understands leverage, he understands what he needs to do in order to level the playing field, and that's so important. Like, if you take a look at this play here, he just keeps that same posture. He's constantly got shoulders over knees, pads over knees. It's not like he absorbs a punch and gets absolutely rocked or absolutely thrown back. But at the NFL level, you may start to see that with those more powerful edge rushes. And that's where the functional strength, the core strength is going to come into play. He's going to need to put on some mass between now and when he starts taking snaps. But if you're looking for a replacement for Halapoulivaati Vaitai, this may be it. If you're looking for someone with the necessary agility to potentially be a long-term successor to Jason Peters, maybe this is it. I don't know, but this is a fun, multifaceted lineman that can play numerous spots on the line, will be a fun project for Jeff Stoutland to develop, and could have a very high upside in years to come. We know the Eagles like to get the most out of their offensive linemen, and they all play a significant amount of snaps. If they didn't, Seumalo wouldn't be a starter right now, and Vaitai wouldn't have just earned a $50 million bag. It's that simple. So Driscoll may not be ready to go in right away, and would I trust him at right tackle against names like Khalil Mack? Probably not, because those deficiencies will be outed and exploited by the more tenacious edge rushers in this league. However, do I think there is a chance he slides inside and becomes a long-term option, or becomes a swing lineman, or maybe even moves to center and starts learning under Jason Kelce during what could be his final year in the NFL? I absolutely think so. But what do you think, guys, about the game of Jack Driscoll? Let me know down in the comments section below. Thank you as always for taking time out of your day to watch this content. If you did enjoy it, leaving a like is really helpful. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And on another note, while all the major sports are beginning to get back to normality, we will be hosting watch-alongs for the Phillies season opener tomorrow, for the Sixers season opener when that arrives, and some more sporting events, including the Philadelphia Union's knockout game on Saturday. So stick around for that. If you want to hear more from me, my Twitter is at LiamJenkinsPSN. We're going to have a lot more content coming your way over the next few weeks, with training camp kicking off next Tuesday on July 28th. So stick around for the latest news from the Novacare complex. I will see you next time for another episode of Eagles Film Room.